Thank you guys for coming.
Ricki Derek's CD. We're talking about the CD. We're talking about the Christmas shows and Ricki Derek's life as a musician and comedian.
Whatever you care to hear.
Well, I want you to tell the story of how you got started with all this. That is the greatest story and creepiest and greatest story.
Well, originally, I mean, I've always been into music, and way back I was kind of more into, was literally the punk movement, like the Deep Ellum was pre-Deep Ellum. You know, there was a bar, I think it changed hands a couple of times, called the Circle A Ranch, which was downtown Dallas, not quite Deep Ellum, and they had punk shows. And I was going there with a fake ID for 5 years seeing punk shows, and was always in bands and stuff. And I loved music and being around it. And I was exposed to this old music, I call it, but it's, you know, it's classic, whatever, by my mom. But anyway, so I was in bands that mostly did loud stuff, and years had passed, and obviously this was a long time ago, and I sang at a party. This was like kind of when you didn't do karaoke, it was still kind of weird, like now it's everywhere, but I sang to some tracks, and just, you know, if I do say so myself, kind of killed it, like knocked it out of the park, and I can't remember what the tunes were. Anyway, so I do this, and this gives me this idea, because everybody's reaction, how much they loved it, to try and work up a lounge act where, not a la Bill Murray, but kind of pretty hokey and messing with people, where you from, and, you know, and smoking a cigarette, and it was more about the joke part, unbeknownst to my, you know, inner whatever, that I really did love the music and thought I could do it well. And so I worked up this act. I literally worked it up at my buddy at the time owned Rubber Gloves in Denton before it changed hands, so I would go to this rehearsal room without a band, just karaoke tracks and sing, just to kind of hear it loud. Like, you can't really do that stuff at home and not feel weird. Like, you know, I just wanted to go somewhere where I could belt and not be asked to get out of the bathroom. Yeah. So I worked this bit up, and in my first gig, I got in at a place called the Red Room next to Club Clearview, and there was people doing loungy stuff, but I didn't want to be sexy. I wanted to be ruffled, tuck shirt, the whole thing, and the rings, and so anyway, I get this gig, and my first night is in the Red Room, and I'm pretty excited about it, because I get to entertain like a full show. And I think what I was doing was going on, there'd be a DJ, and then I would do 2 or 3 songs, and they were actually going for that whole kitschy. And the Red Room was like sponsored by Camel Reds and stuff. So, yeah. So to cut to the only interesting part of the story, my mom and I are very close, and my mom knows I'm doing this show this night, and I can't remember if she was already moved down to South Texas, or I don't think so. But so I get a call, and I already have rock musician hours at this time, so I'm not awake. And she calls me, she said, Derek, which is my birthday. She said, Derek, did you read did you hear? And I said, no. What the hell are you talking about? And she said, Frank Sinatra died. And at the time, I was really getting into the Rat Pack and stuff again, because I was doing this act, and it was more about, here's guys that do it right. It wasn't about aping anything. It was just about doing it. And anyway, so my first night at the Red Room was at least 2, I think 3 live feeds from television stations. Anybody that could get out there to write about it, because everyone was looking for, who's doing a Frank Sinatra thing tonight? Well, nobody in Dallas was doing a Frank Sinatra thing per se. So it was so scary. It was just like, I wanted to creep in under the radar and jack with people and get drunk and have a good time. And then from then on, it was just, I did a couple of different places, like the Lakewood Landing I did on Mondays, because I wanted to do places where I had nothing to lose, who cares? I didn't want to do it on a stage and everything. I wanted to be the weird thing, you came in and there's a guy in the corner. Almost like you didn't want to go into the place because he could mess with you. So, and then years and years passed of just doing bigger and bigger shows, and then finally stopped doing the tracks bit and started working with bands. And then I surrounded myself with really top-notch guys that actually forced my hand to quit screwing around and actually kind of learn more stuff and learn how music works better versus aping, you know, I love the phrasing of Sinatra, so of course, you know, similar to a rock band, if you're going to copy a band, you're going to copy the Beatles somewhere in there and all that. And I thought, if you're going to sing the Great American Songbook, you got to be doing it the way Frank did, or at least be knowledgeable of what he did for it. So that's what I've been doing, and now this last few years been working with my musical director and doing more bolder stuff like orchestra stuff and big band stuff where he does the charts. You know, it's not like when I first did big band, I mail ordered it from England. It was like online, you know, $50 for a chart. Well, it's $50 because it's a $50. I mean, all the guys are back there just going, oh, this sucks. It's the same chart everybody has. And so I finally got to where I was paying to have my own charts written, and just blowing the minds of horn players and stuff, just going, this is like, they love to play my stuff, which is exciting for me. I mean, I can't completely cater to them because I want an audience to, you know, a lot of people like Somewhere Beyond the Sea, Bobby Darin, the crowd loves it, but the band is always like, oh, okay, we'll play it. Because the chart's the one everyone does, but when you give them a new chart where they can say, and that's what I've been about lately, is just trying to push myself away and have my own identity versus, I'm a contradiction in terms, but the whole crooner thing, I always use the term crooner because I find it as a compliment, because I think I'm in some good company. But to just say I'm what I am, I don't know, I just, you know, I like to dress up and I like this kind of music, but if I wanted to try something, I would. I mean, my other album I did, I Melt With You, and Rio, you know, Duran's Rio done big band, and just not to be, you know, not to be Richard Cheese, to treat the music right, and the lyrics are cool. I mean, just because, you know, hot dudes with great hair did them doesn't mean that, you know, the songs, if you pull them away from the way that pull them away from a synthesizer, aren't cool songs at their core. So that's what I've been about lately. And my next album is just probably going to be completely 80s and 70s covers done big band style, but our own way, and with knocking heads with my musical guy, who I mentioned, and I'll gladly give you his name. So it's kind of...
You should give it his
name.
Yeah.
David Pierce is his name. He's out of Denton, and he does a lot of stuff for a lot of bands, and now a lot of alt bands are kind of saying, hey, I want to do strings and stuff for this tune, you know, or he'll do, so he's really a talented, and he and I just kind of approach him with stupid ideas, and he either doesn't think it'll work or come back with, after I've talked to him, say, hey, let's, like Rio, let's do Duran's Rio like a James Bond tune. And it comes back with the orchestration. We talk a lot, and really though, it's me just going, like, kind of like the old style. I mean, you know, where the guys would sing great arranger stuff. I mean, you didn't kind of, you know, I can't do it myself. I can say that would be cool this way, but that's all I bring to the table. It give me a part where I can jump around and be an idiot, and I'll help keep the audience engaged. That's my goal. That leads us to this deal, which I've been doing this show. This is its 4th year, and we finally reached a point where we said, we've got these great orchestrations that David did, and we've had a chance to run them enough to be a well-oiled machine. You know, the old bands like Count Basie and stuff, they would just tour and tour and tour, so they were so hot and great. Well, I don't have that luxury. Nobody hires big bands unless it's a corporate event or some big thing, so my gigs are spread out. So to be hot and swinging like those guys were, and there is the musicianship in North Texas for it. I mean, those guys out in North Texas are just amazing. And all my stuff is very Count Basie style, so it's swinging. It's almost what rock and roll was before it was considered rock and roll. So we decided, we have the charts. I haven't done a Christmas album since 2000, and my 2001 was done in like a barn. Not a barn, but like a warehouse by the dark bus line. It was just shit. I mean, but I had a lot of people loving the vibe. Like we did Silent Night swinging instead of we did Silent Night. All is come up. You know, and it's like, whoa, you don't do it that way. So that kind of leads to this. This has strings and it has there's some you know, cocktail jokes, kind of some racy, but about as racy as like a Saturday Night Live would get. And then this year we're doing one with none of those references for the whole family during the day too, to have like a family matinee thing. So that's where we're at. There's the album, there's the flyer. do the night before on the 14th. I do it at Scat Lounge in Fort Worth, which is a real. You can't do the big show like we can do at Lakewood, so it's more like a bar show. But it gives us that sort of 2 nights of warming up hardcore to do the big show at Lakewood, which is the full orchestra. They're both full orchestra, but I can't do a lot of the gags. I can't show any videos. We do I do some fake home movies. You know, we do a via satellite feed from the North Pole of this disgruntled elf, and we show bad clips and stuff. So I'm trying to kind of, I don't want to be too, Rat Pack joke, Rat Pack era, and not have anything that I brought to the table, anything modern. I mean, I've seen some of those shows, and it's just like those jokes were great then, and now. So that's the whole thing. McMillan, and she's a wonderful singer who's now since moved to New York, but is coming back to do the show.
Is that who sings?
She's on the album.
You?
Okay,
yeah,
she's fantastic, real young, and she's super musically educated. I learned it by going out there and just doing it and listening to other people. She can actually, well, let's go back to bar 7 and and I can to a certain degree, but not like where I'm just. She's wonderful, and also have a guy who is a Dallas guy who does a lot of Dallas opera chorus stuff. He's in Moby Dick and stuff like that. He sings probably maybe 2 numbers, but at least 1 number this year, and just operatic, beautiful, not a dry eye in the house sort of belting a song, and actually I do the first Noel on the album, but he does it in the show. It's just really just down there and great. That was an awful example. And he's just a big guy, and it sounds big, and he's big, and he's in the show too. And then I have a buddy who I still kind of do a cabaret comedy show with, who since moved to New York and then Atlanta, who now works for Aqua Teen Hunger Force. He's an editor on that show, but he's a comedic, nutball, and he's coming in from Atlanta to do the shows, and he plays a fake lawyer that comes out and reads this, funny way of nobody's allowed to do this, and then he just reads this whole big list of what you can and can't do at the show, but it's comedic. And then he's going to be, it's kind of a reveal thing, so it's probably not necessary to tell people, but Old Yella, which is basically Frosty's brother.
Wow.
See, it's like we kind of walked the line, and then there's another puppet character and stuff, but it's I try to always say it's not it's not your granddad's show, but if your granddad's got a good sense of humor, then it is. It's not just gonna, and then the kids show will be edited down to just be be kind of more like how those shows tend to go, where it's like sing along and I can't hear you, and you're just kind of catering to how kids would want it, editing out some of the songs that would just have them ripping up furniture and destroying the theater. So, but so those are the special guests, and of course the band is just filled with some of the guys. My guy I use a lot does a lot of stuff with. Sheryl Crow. I mean, there's just people that, because North Texas is just full of monster players that these guys come in and take away. Harry Connick, all these guys use, so it'll be a who's who in the band too, for sure.